So because of that, we will be coming into the game soon. HQ Esports Cup is going to be on the blue team, and TPS will be on the purple side. And for our viewers out there, for any more information, you want to find out more about these two teams, do head over to gpl.garena.com. You'll be able to find player statistics and some of the votes that will be available as well, especially after tonight.
Yeah, that's right. So do head over to that website, but we are into picks and bans like you have said. Vi, Karma, and Annie coming out for HQ Esports, Olaf, Kassadin, and Trish on the side of the Azubu Taipei Snipers. So very interesting bans, I feel, because none of them are actually flavor of the month champions outside of Olaf, but Karma, Annie, we've known Mistake to play these few champions. Trash is something that Green Tea never give Green Tea Trash. It's his champion of choice. His death sentences are super pinpoint, and when he lands one, you know your team's in trouble. And HQ will pick up the severe pickup for their marksman role.
And that's right, we are playing in the 3.14 patch as well, so it is pre-Silver and Lucian nerfs. So I think these two champions are the champions of choice to go to, especially for these two teams. And if HQ grabs that Tarek pick for themselves, we effectively see one of the most painful bottom lane duo, but at this point in time, it does look like they want to switch over to Jarvan first. And let's take a look at what Taipei Snipers have installed first. They do have that Mundo pickup extremely strong in the current patch because of the changes to the defensive masteries, and Wins, once again, going to be playing the Elise. And I think it's a great champion for himself because he likes, I think a lot of responsibility in the early stages falls down onto his shoulders because he is the one who will try to snowball his laners ahead. And given his style of early game domination, I would say that he is the key factor to try to break through what HQ likes to play, which is that hyper-aggressive style.
And speaking about hyper-aggressive style, let's kind of talk a little bit of how HQ's team comp at this point of time will kind of work into that. Siva and Tarek is a super aggressive lane. Shyvana is an extremely aggressive top laner. I wouldn't be surprised to see Mr. Albis play something aggressive in the mid lane as well, or something that he's very used to, like maybe a Gragas or an Orianna that's coming in. That's not going to be a surprise as well. In the jungle from Naz, it could be the Jarvan pickup. He is known to play the Jarvan as quite well as well. He doesn't have the Vi or the Elise in his pockets at this point of time because Elise has already been picked up by Win. So let's just see what HQ will decide to pick up from themselves. But we may see Mistake play a support Zillion, or it could even be the Zillion in the mid lane coming out from Azubu Taipei Snipers.
Right, and this Zillion pick is not so much of a surprise anymore. We have seen that come into play, especially in the OGN scene, and I think in the North American scene as well. We have seen that come into play. And the thing about that Zillion pick is that
Orianna Jarvan.
Right, Orianna and Jarvan, so you called it. And the thing about this Zillion pick as well is that you have a lot of versatility. The thing about it is that you don't have that amount of sustain and that kind of traits that you want to bring out, especially down on the bottom lane. So I'm quite curious to see what Mistake will pull out of that one. But needless to say, with the time bombs, you don't need a lot of ability power for it to hurt. And I think because of that, between God, JJ, and Mistake, and having that Lucian pick as well, they want to just dish out as much poke damage and trade damage as much as they can.
Yeah, and look at what Azubu Taipei Snipers have decided to lock in for their mid lane pick. It's going to be the Riven pickup in the mid lane, and I like this Riven pickup up against the Orianna just because the mobility that Riven has in her kit should allow Oriel to kind of dance around that ball and zoning control coming out from Mr. Albis, and the early level aggression as well as the early level burst coming out from Riven as a champion itself is going to put Mr. Albis very low and very susceptible to the gangs of Wins.
We'll say that there's a slice of Faker right there.
A slice of Faker.
A slice of Faker, because for the viewers out there, if you haven't been following the Korean scene, Faker was the one to kind of make Riven mid the famous pick for most parts of it. And I really love to see that coming into this game, just spicing things up right from the start. You don't want to go in for like a Gragas pick or something predictable in that sense. You want to go in for something out of the blue, hopefully to catch HQ Esports Club off guard as well. And, looking at Taipei Snipers, their lineup right now, they do have that Mundo up in the top lane. Very strong, very tanky top laner. Then you do have Wins playing one of his favorite jungle champions, Elise. You have Oriel, like we were mentioning, playing Riven in the mid lane. And then Lucian and Zillion down at the bottom lane. So all in all, they have a great amount of mobility. Combine that with this pick potential you have with Elise and together with Riven as well. So I think what they want to do is to play their usual game. Find those early game setups that they need, and then subsequently just subdue HQ Esports Club with that.
Yeah, I agree. And what we have here, I just want to kind of talk a little bit more about how you like to focus on the AHQ early aggression. In their latest matchup, which was in the LNL itself, I think the game went on all the way to a 60-minute game, if I'm not wrong. And what AHQ did was actually match TPS in terms of objective control, and what TPS did was actually match AHQ in terms of early game aggression. So these two teams have a very good understanding of each other, and we may see Price kind of get spotted out by Zonda as well as Wins. He will get hit by the briefcase, and he just used the flame breath and starts to walk away, gets hit by the volatile spiderling as well. Zonda just going to be happy to chuck briefcases at Price.
So this two matchup between Mundo and Shyvana up in the top laner, I would say that it's a pretty tanky matchup, World of Tanks, if you like to call it.
A World of Tanks? I don't think we should talk about that game here, should we? But yes, it is going to be a tanky matchup, but Shyvana itself is generally a very aggressive top laner, and I think Pride's coming into the early levels will be quite happy to duel with Zonda, especially if Pride has that minion wave there to kind of block out some of the briefcases. So a 4-man stack on the bottom half of the jungle kind of tells me that TPS may want to go in for the aggressive invade, or possibly just put a ward down, because warding at the level 1 with the trinkets can be, what's the word, you know? You may just want to put a few early wards down, and you don't have that much wards to kind of spot it out, just because the support at this point of time will be buying the ancient coin.
That's right, and I think this early invade coming out of Taipei Snipers, it's pretty much a trademark style, especially in the 3.14 patch, where we see generally teams, they don't want to go for invades anymore, just because of the fact that Smite is of a generally lower cooldown, just 40 seconds now. And because of that, a lot of teams, they don't want to go for those invades, they don't want to take risk. And also because of the fact that most supports want to go for their ancient coin start, you know, they don't go for that 3 or 4 watt start anymore, and because of that, you know, teams that they don't want to move in to lose vision of themselves. But this time around, you know, Taipei Snipers just doing what they do best, especially in the quarterfinal stages where they did something similar, you know, early game aggression against Singapore Sentinels in the jungle, and this time around they're doing that to HQ Esports Club as well.
This is going to be very interesting, because what we have here is Wins as well as Zonda going in to try to stop the counter jungle coming from Naz, and Naz has not been able to pick up that red buff at this point of time. They will use the sweeper lens, that is the only sweeper lens actually on Wins, to pick out that ward, and they will try to pick up their own red buff to deny a buff away. And look at Oriel as well as Mr. Albis doing that, putting down the Ignite and forcing out the flash from Mr. Albis. So that early level aggression from Riven, which I was talking about, as well as the pretty good level 1 play coming in from Azubu Taipei Snipers, allowing Wins to pick up 2 red buffs and possibly transition to getting a 3rd buff for himself.
Right, and that's a very key play over here, because like we always talk about it, HQ Esports Club, they like to dominate in the early game stages. So if you take away some of these advantages that Naze could potentially have for himself, that's just crippling him, and you set him back in terms of gold, you set him back in terms of experience, his jungle pathing will be a lot slower, and that would, you know, be a snowballing effect as we go into the ganks later on. And I think because of that, Wins has just effectively gained a huge advantage for himself just in this single, you know, simple but effective play, I'll call it.
Yeah, that's right. And the shield, they're actually timing out a little bit, so Garena never unable to block the spellbomb. But what we have here is the gank coming from Naz.
Well, looks like he just made me eat my words, because Naz is just, you know, he doesn't care at all, even though he lost his buff, but instead he just went down for a straight clean gank down in the bottom lane, and that has worked out for him in that sense. So first blood will go over to Garnet Devil, and
so it's a very interesting decision coming out from Naz, because he knows that Wins will want to try to pick up as many buffs as possible and get as much experience before going into the lane for a gank. So what Naz decides to do is, okay, I'll hit level 3 and just be the aggressor first, because Wins is probably farming out the camps right now, so I have this short window of opportunity to come in for a gank. He went in for the gank, got the first blood, gave it away to Garnet Devil, which will help, because Sivir scales extremely well with attack damage as she gets more levels into that boomerang blade.
So it's a little bit of outwitting, what do you call it?
Yes.
From HQ Esports Club?
I would call it a little bit of outwitting, and a successful outwitting indeed.
And meanwhile, in the mid lane, we do see Mr. Albis just melting down to the combination of Wins and Oriel, and very timely gank as well. So Nick Fernac, in response to what happened down in the bottom lane, and because of that, Wins will now secure that one kill for himself. And in a sense, it's a very effective strategy to give wins over the kill because he is an early game orientated jungler. So if you give him that kill, he can scale up with more items and just be able to roam around even more effectively than what he has done so far.
Yeah. And another thing that I like to point out is Wins is probably one of the only junglers in the GPL in itself who actually burn flash every time he goes to the mid lane. He will flash in, aggressively flash in, and throw out the cocoon so much so that he can just extend the range of that CC as much as possible. And having Riven the lane itself with that stun in her kit on its own being the champion like that, and the mobility from Riven allows you to kind of follow on the stun very easily.
And meanwhile, up in the top lane, Pride and Zonda still trading back and forth, but now we do see Zonda coming out slightly ahead with a 6 CS advantage. And I don't expect, this trades to stop anytime soon. And probably the only time of change will come in when the junglers start to show their face up in the top lane. But, you have to remember, Zonda still has the ultimate to sustain himself back up once Price tried to bring him down to less than maybe a third of his HP, so it's not too much of a concern.
I like to point out some item pickups coming in from both sides, because on the side of AHQ, we actually have Mr. Albis deciding to go for a tier early game, and what Oriel wants at this point of time is just straight out basic attack damage items. So picking up 2 longswords, giving him that flat AD, going to allow him to deal more burst. So a little bit of a bait coming in, and Oriel just going to go completely ham on this one, just destroying Nas. Oh, sorry, not Nas. Destroying Mr. Albis in the process, despite the fact that Nas was there.
Right, so the straight AD build coming out from Oriel is working out so well for him so far. And I would say in this fashion, Taipei Snipers definitely have this early game in their hands.
Orianna is level 4 compared to Oriel's level 6.
Right, that's a pretty sad state for him to be in. And now Nace jumps into the fray with the flag spear combo, only to get knocked up by Oriel in the process. So Taipei Snipers will back off from there. So Nace successfully defending the turret, but nevertheless, we do see Mr. Albis now 0-2 in terms of kills. And in a 7-minute mark to give all that
Devil, what are
advantage.
you doing? Pops the spell shield there just to try to mitigate maybe I don't know what he was trying to do, but that spell shield didn't really do much.
And now Green Tea and Garena Devil trading back against God JJ once again. It does look like Mystic with this Zillion pick has shown a great amount of aggression in this one. So not having any AP on him as well. So all this basic base damage on that time bomb is working out for him. And meanwhile, we do see Wins now meeting Frights up in the top part of the jungle, and it does look like Wins want to just deter him away. So very risky attempt from Wins. It does look like Mr. Albis will pick up the blue buff for himself.
I just noticed one more other thing. Talking about item pickups, Green Tea has decided to upgrade their Ancient Coin into the Nomad's Medallion as fast as possible, but on the side of Mistake, he decides to pick up a Doran Shield instead. And interestingly enough, this Nomad's Medallion hasn't been put to good use just because God JJ and Mistake has been doing such an exceptional job of zoning Green Tea and Garnet Devil.
Well, I guess that's the key difference between both laners, and we start to see that translating into CS as well. Garnet Devil sitting at 49 CS, compared that to God JJ sitting at a good 63 CS as well, and hopefully that is that advantage that they need to control this early game beast. And like I mentioned, I think definitely Taipei Snipers coming ahead with that invasion as well as that early kill that Oriel has able to secure for himself.
Yeah, the Taipei Snipers, like you said, has been kind of keeping AHQ at bay and not allowing them to play their early game. So sooner or later, at about the 10-12 minute mark, we should see Azubu Taipei Snipers start to take objectives, probably go for that dragon, transit that into a kill, probably go for a kill or a gank, transit that into an objective such as dragon or a turret, and then that buffet strategy will just start rolling all over again.
Right, open up the buffet lines for the snipers, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen in another 2 or 3 minutes, guys, so let's just watch out for that one.
Right, and in the meantime, we do see Nace coming down once again for a gank setup, but there is that one ward to spot out his position, and we do see Wins responding to this as well, but it does feel like Wins will be looking to take out the blue buff instead. And meanwhile, with the top lane, Price once again trading back and forth between Zonda and himself. Does feel like Price actually coming up slightly ahead in that one, but nevertheless, Zonda still has that teleport up as well. And I think that's the other key area of focus, because Price does not have a teleport, so not too much global presence as compared to Zonda.
Yeah, And not only that, I don't like the itemization coming out from Mr. Albus at this point of time. He doesn't have a boots of speed, does pick up the cloth armor, going to mitigate some of that damage, but the brutalizer itself is going to kind of just cancel that armor, the armor buy away from Mr. Albus. And not having the boost of speed, I say, is not a very good thing on the side of Orianna at this point in time. It's the fact that Riven is so extremely mobile. She can catch up to you with her broken wings, as well as the dash and the stun coming in, the knockup, as well as the ultimate giving her additional attack damage is going to be very troubling for Mr. Albus. I've not seen Mr. Albus in lane for very long.
And there we go now. Between the three-man gang of Garnet Devil, Naze, and Vinti, they will be able to take out Mistake in the meantime, and does look like Zonda will cancel out the teleport as well. So once again, a successful gang coming down the bottom lane as HQ Esports Club secure yet another kill for themselves. It does look like they might want to try to pick up an objective, but they feel for a fact that Oriel is actually right around the corner, so they will not to do anything else, but nevertheless, one more kill for themselves. And
I don't think Zonda cancelled his teleport. I think Pride's actually used the Dragon's Descent to cancel it away from Zonda, because we do see the Dragon form now on Pride's, and it's gonna go on cool. It will be on cooldown now.
Right, that might be exactly what happened here. So, but nevertheless, between both teams, still mirroring each other's movements relatively well, and that's what we are talking about. They're no strangers to each other. They are mirroring each other's movements in that sense. And now, there we go. The buffet lines are officially open as Taipei Snipers take out the first dragon for themselves. And that will pull their goal advantage over HQ Esports Club to a good 1.3k advantage.
Yeah, that's right. And let's take a look at the items coming in. So you said that the buffet lines are now open, and it just seems that the early game aggression coming from there, we do have the gang coming in.
Right, it does look like Naze might want to back up from there, and the command shockwave gets used as well. Unfortunately, that was not able to hit anyone at all. I just feel like, it's a futile attempt, but nevertheless, they did force out the ultimate from Orianna on Mr. Albus on Orianna as well. So, in that sense, the Snipers will be able to put on more pressure against HQ Esports Club, especially in the mid lane.
Oh, so we do have a pause coming in.
Mistake hits level 6. He would have that Chrono Shift up on his own end to try to negate themselves. That's effectively one guarded angel for himself. But, they just went into the lane from level 1 to 5 before he had any of that. So that 2 kills will definitely bring Garnet Devil in a more comfortable position to try to trade it off against God JJ. But I think Oriel is the area of focus for Taipei Snipers at this point of time. 1-0-1 now, having a good close to 20 CS advantage over Mr. Albus. And not only that, all the other laners as well, Zonda as well as God JJ as well as Oriel. And actually in the meantime, we do see a gang up in the top lane now. Pride's chasing onto Zonda there. Just feel like Price will decide to back off with that one, and Zonda regenerating himself back up with the ultimate as well. We might see Price actually in some trouble, and Naze jumps back into the fray with the EQ combo as well. And now Price taking a whole lot of damage, and Oriel will flash in for the kill onto Price there. And now Naze is one set Javan. He will back away from that one. And meanwhile, in the bottom lane, we do see another engage once more. God JJ will have to back off from that one. But because of that, he did actually take up the red buff in prior to that exchange.
Buffet strategy.
Buffet strategy.
Buffet strategy.
Buffet lines are open. Taipei Snipers are officially the hungriest team in the Garena Premier League.
And look at the amount of wards that HQ Esports had in that red side jungle. They kind of foresaw the fact that they may go for... Well, we actually have Mr. Albus taken down to half health here by Oriel. He will be able to escape from that going under the turret in itself, and wins as well, as well. JJ will go in for Greedy.
And now Wins trying to make chase onto Green Tea there. The Chrono Shift gets popped as well. And Mistake will actually pick up the kill onto Green Tea there with the Time Bomb. And now Garnet Devil looks like he is in trouble. He will go down to God JJ. Finish off there cleanly with this 3-man gang. And does look like Taipei Snipers in the meantime will take out the bottom turret as well. So with that propelling their goal lead to a good 4,000 just 40 minutes in against HQ Esports Club. And it does feel like HQ Esports Club might be sweating their hits.
Yeah, they will be shaking in the chairs at this point of time. What happened right now, we saw Azubu Taipei Snipers take on 2 kills, the red buff, as well as a turret. So the buffet lines are open, they are just sweeping it away, and HQ needs to respond by taking some objectives. So if they do manage to kind of pull on the aggression without going in on the head-on fights at this point of time, because the Azubu Taipei snipers have hit certain item thresholds in which the rest of the laners can't really deal with. Sivir has kind of matched it up with Lucian at this point of time. Garena Devil hasn't been having such a good day, but the rest of the lanes are doing pretty badly.
Now Zonda putting on some hurt to Pride here, and Zonda pops the ultimate as well, just hitting briefcases after briefcases. He doesn't want to be late to this meeting as well. And Pride looks like he might actually go down, but you know, Zonda is now approaching the carry range. He will back off from there, and we do see Wins coming into the mid lane as well. He might want to make something happen, and Nace sitting right around the corner, taking some damage onto the white cam. We might actually see the 4-man group up like we were talking about it pre-game.
Yeah. The group ups will start happening from Azubu Taipei snipers. What we'll see from them very classically is that you will have Wins as well as everyone else roam and leave Zonda at the top. That's why he has a teleport to be able to come in at any point of time. Look at the ward control coming in from the Azubu Taipei snipers. The vision wards are at the entrances to spot out any sort of other warding from happening on the side of HQ, and they don't really care about the wards that are deep into the jungle at this point of time, because what they want is to kind of spot out some of the rotations coming from HQ just in case they are able to go for any sort of sneaky objective trades, and that's not what they want, because they want to have that objective control. They want to force HQ into certain rotations, and they will try to kind of flank them, get a few kills, and just continue taking objectives. So Azubu Taipei Sniper's goal is to prevent HQ from getting any kills or objectives, and they just want to take the objectives for themselves.
Right, and the interesting part as well is that all the wards that they have placed on is heavily focused down into the jungle side, especially the red side of HQ Esports Club, which goes to show that they want to group up, especially in the mid and the bottom lane. So they're not too concerned. They have confidence in Zonda up in the top lane to hold his own ground. So they want to go for this 4 or at least a 3-man group up in those both 2 lanes, and you know, just have the advantage over Garnet Devil, Green Tea as well as Mr. Albert. So you know, Taipei Snipers just playing it their style, playing their own game in this one. And HQ Esports Club, you know, especially in the LNL, in that 16-minute game that you were mentioning earlier, is that they were down on a lot of objectives at one period of time, but they came back, they responded well, and eventually that was why they managed to pick up the victory. And hopefully we start to see that soon, because they are dropping turrets and objectives after objectives, and that is not a point where you want to be in.
Yeah. In that LNL game that you were talking about earlier, Chris, I feel that what AHQ did successfully was, number one, they didn't bleed out too much gold at the start. Currently, they're at a 5 or 4,000, almost 5,000 gold disadvantage. And in that LNL game, they never allowed that gold lead to hit anywhere above 3,000. They managed to take away the turrets as well as some of the dragon control back from Azubu Taipei Sniper. So this is not really mirroring that LNL match at this point in time. The dragon has just respawned. Wins Mistake as well as God JJ will be going in for the dragon once more. This is going to increase their gold lead to about 6,000 gold at this point in time. Do note that the later the game goes, the more the dragon will be worth. So currently it's worth about almost 200 gold at this point of time, because once dragon hits about level 15, it's going to hit about 260 gold. So Oriel gets a speed up now and will be chasing onto Mr. Albus.
And the shockwave doesn't hit as well. Does look like Mr. Albus will be locked down with the cocoon, and Wins will secure that kill for himself. Once again, a pick off from the Taipei Snipers, and Mr. Albus not having the game that he wished that he have had for himself. 0-3-0. And you know, having that 20 CS deficit against Oriel at this point of time, and looking at his item, he only has that Tear of the Goddess as well as that Seeker's Arm Guard. So effectively, he doesn't have a lot of damage. And now Garnet Devil is in trouble. Wins will jump into the fray as well. Cocoon will land, and God JJ will secure that kill. And it does look like they will take away the red buff for the Troubles as well.
The problem that HQ faces now is the fact that Prides cannot match up to Zonda. And the rest of the lanes are just losing on the side of HQ. And Wins has just been snowballing so much and allowing the lanes to snowball so much that TPS has the objective control in the bottom half of the map. And who they want to shut down is Garnet Devil, because Garnet Devil has been gifted 2 early kills in the game by Nas, killing Mistake twice. And all they need to do is just, hey, your strongest carry at this point of time is Sivir. She's not an extremely tanky target, so let's just go all ham on Sivir and, you know, just kill Garnet Devil outright. And TPS has just been doing exactly that. They have taken out all the outer turrets, 2 dragons already in their name, and they're just going to group up and continue to take objectives. AHQ needs to fight the moment they feel that they can, because look at the items of Mr. Albis. No offensive items at all.
Right, and the Ravenous Hydra being completed on Oriel as well, so he will be able to clear out the minimum waves even more effectively than he was before. And once again, Zonda going all ham onto Pride here, and Naze has to respond to that. Zonda now having to pop the ultimate and flashing out as well. Will Pride actually give chase? It does feel like they want to play it safely, they don't want to go all in onto Zonda at this point of time.
This could have turned very badly for AHQ. They were lucky that Azubu Taipei snipers had sent 3 members back to base just to get a few more items. Look at the amount of wards in their inventory slots. They had to commit 2 people, both Nas and Price, to deal with Zonda. And if TPS was there and ready to rotate, they could easily taken 1 or 2 objectives away from that. The fact that you are pulling 2 members of AHQ just to respond to the Mundo split push is not a good sign at all, because you can't even kill him at this point of time.
Right, and now Oriel pops the ultimate as well. Wants to go all in onto Ness at this point of time, but you know, HQ Esports Club, fortunately for them, they managed to group up and deter that away. But that was just a taste of what Taipei Snipers can do to HQ Esports Club at this point of time. And I feel like HQ Esports Club, they need to do what they do best. They need to force the engages to happen, because right now they're just sitting ducks to what Taipei Snipers are doing to them. They haven't been able to respond to all their early game rotations. They haven't been able to respond to kind of get back vision control. They haven't been able to take any turrets as well. And if they just keep this up, then definitely they will just watch the game slip away from them.
No, Azubu Taipei Snipers has chosen a very apt time to actually get the kills as well as the objectives. They chose a time in which AHQ didn't have any sort of very strong offensive items at all. So look at what they're doing now. AHQ, knowing that they can respond to this one, seeing that Zonda was actually split pushing, they decide to try to push the mid lane turret.
Right, the calling comes down from God JJ as well. It does look like all 5 members of HQ Esports Club have decided to disengage, and the command distance will kind of slow them down as well. Now Zonda taking some damage for the team, but you know, with 5 men grouped up from Taipei Snipers, a very quick and decisive response from themselves as well. Because they knew for a fact what HQ Esports Club they wanted to do is go for a 5-man shove in the mid lane. So quickly Zonda comes back in with the teleport and having the talisman of ascension to bring themselves back into the game as well. So
this is exactly what AHQ needs to do. They know they cannot win any team fights, so they're not looking for these team fights. What they need to do is just try to out-rotate Taipei Snipers, put some damage to the turrets in hope of taking some objectives down and gaining some global goal back into their favor, and just disengage the moment they see the Azubu Taipei Snipers at all.
Now Oriel now jumping into the fray with the wind slash as well. Does look like Price he will not go down actually. And now Mr. Albert finally secure his first kill in the game, and now Zonda just over the wall throwing some rift cases onto HQ Esports Club Naz there, and he will disengage from that one. So, you know, HQ Esports Club finally finding one of these fights that they wanted, getting 1 kill for themselves, but at a very heavy and, you know, resourceful attempt, as well as now we do see Taipei Snipers going for this relatively early Baron. They do have the damage as well as the health to do so. And with the amount of wards being invested into the jungle of HQ Esports Club, I feel like they're just gonna give it up for them. So Taipei Snipers takes the Baron away from HQ Esports Club, and with that Baron buff, securing that placehold in the smash.
This is very reminiscent of the Azubu Taipei Snipers up against the Mineski game in the quarterfinals, where Azubu Taipei Snipers closed all the games like 25 minutes and they took 16 or 17-minute Baron. So this game went on slightly longer than those Mineski games, but what's happening here is that the Azubu Taipei Snipers are in complete control of the game flow. But what AHQ can do and will have to do now is to use the disengage potential of Garnet Devil, Mr. Albis, as well as probably Green Teeth with the Dazzle, group up, try to force an objectives when Azubu Taipei Snipers decide to go back and shop, decide to go and take Dragon. They rotate to the lane that's furthest away, hopefully to take an objective. But they do risk Azubu Taipei Snipers either number 1, catching up to them, or number 2, just out-rotating them, because at this point in time they do not have any outer objectives.
Right, and now Snipers catch HQ Esports Club in a pincer formation. Does look like HQ will, you know, disengage from that one as well, but they burn a lot of resources in the process. Snipers might just, you know, march into HQ's Esports Club bottom lane base and just take away the turret and subsequently the inhibitor, and that will open up effectively a doorway to victory for them.
HQ Esports aren't out of this just yet. They are at a slightly less than 10,000 gold deficit at this point of time. They need to do something on the Zonda split push. His teleport is not up just yet, so if they kind of had the timing of the teleport for Zonda, they hopefully need to wear out the Baron buff at this point of time and go for a 5v4 fight, in which they I don't know their chances of winning a 5v4 fight at this point of time, because they do not have any super major items kind of completed on the side of AHQ. They have hit some item thresholds, but I don't know if HQ is confident.
Oh,
whoa,
wow.
the briefcase actually steals that blue buff away from Mr. Albis, and now Zonda's just saying Mundo goes where he pleases. The Burning Agony is going to tick onto him. The Shockwave does hit onto Zonda, and let's see if he's able to get away with the flash.
And there we go now, the Dragon's Descent will actually pick up the kill onto Zonda, but I have to say, that is one very impressive briefcase throwing technique there. And there we go, Taipei Snipers taking out the bottom lane turret, while everyone on HQ Esports Club, especially both Mr. Albis as well as Price, got distracted there. Now Mace jumps into the face. Not too sure if that's the best decision to go for. Wins now taking a whole lot of damage, but you know, his teammates are there to back him out. And there we go with the shield coming down from Mystic as well. And now Oriel will jump into the fray. Look at the amount of damage that he's dealing onto them. So two more kills being secured on the side of Taipei Snipers. Does feel like they will be able to pick up this inhibitor for themselves. And you know, things are starting to look very, very grim for HQ Esports Club in game number 1.
That's right, HQ Esports Club may have hit the point of time in which, this game they can't win it anymore. The point of no return.
It's slipping away.
It's really slipping away. Azubu Taipei Snipers just going to close out this game. It's going to be a 26-minute game after that Baron and those few kills. They had to commit too many resources to Zonda, and I felt in that engagement Naz went in a little bit too early, because we saw Mr. Albis as well as Prides come in as soon as possible to try to get that 5v4 in their favor. So they wanted to go for the 5v4 fight in that final attempt to defend their base, but Naz went in a little bit too early, and that kind of just allowed TPS to just kind of steamroll into the base in itself.
Well, a few major things happened in this game. I feel that, you know, HQ Esports Club, they wanted to play their game. They wanted to go in with that all-aggressive style that we have seen HQ Esports Club perform time and time again, especially in the group stages. But, you know, credits to Taipei Snipers, they have very good answers to what HQ Esports Club do to them. So first was the invasion that, you know, succeeded on there, and so crippling Naze just a little bit, especially in the early game stages. Then subsequently, it was all those little invades that they did and those little rotations that really just brought them back into the game and brought them so far ahead over HQ Esports Club that did not have any response to that. And not only that, all those early game picks onto Mr. Albis, so he was unable to snowball as Oriana, and subsequently he just lost control of the pace of the game, and I think that was eventually what brought Taipei Snipers their victory in this game.
I'd like to take all our viewers back to the pick and ban phase. According to what I have here, AHQ first pick Sivir. After that, they picked Shyvana and Taric. This kind of showed what kind of bot lane that they have. Sivir and Taric lane, like you said, is going to be an extremely hard lane to kind of lane against, because Taric with the Dazzle as well as the Shatter combo, going in with the Sivir Boomerang Blade and Ricochet, is going to just deal a ton of burst damage. And the immediate response of Azubu Taipei Snipers was to pick Lucian and Zillion for the lane. And that lane in itself has equally, if not more, burst damage coming in the early game, plus the range. Because what Taric doesn't have is that he's not a range champion. He's a melee champion, has to go in close in order to pull off that Shatter combo into the Boomerang Blade. So the aggressiveness of the bottom lane was mitigated by Taipei Snipers just by picking an even more aggressive bottom lane. So they couldn't play the game that they wanted to play. So HQ really needs to look out for that if they want to play the aggressive game, they need to, number one, be more aggressive and have the more aggressive laning control as well.